All right, we're here. Well, thanks everyone for being here. Welcome to the break room for coaches, where coaches get real and discuss, I'm reading it because I still haven't memorized it, and discuss the intersection of business and spirituality. And we are so excited to be here. I'm so excited you were here, Jess. I kind of miss us.
Thanks. I'm excited that we have Gena. What a treat. Gena. Sorry, I was told how to say your name, and I practiced it.
Told it, but I remember she wrote a post about like people not knowing how to, pronounce her name. So I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Genevieve, I think it's her name. So I have, just so you know, I have a coach crush on her. Everybody has like this little coach crush. She's her and her wife. They're amazing, and I don't follow that many groups because sometimes I get pretty overwhelmed with so much information. But they have an awesome group, and we'll talk about her groups and that you guys could start following. But I'm really excited she's here, and because I think this is such an interesting topic and important, and it's so important that we tend to get nervous about it and not talk about it. Because you're like, oh, well, I need to be in a much higher position or in higher end, in a certain amount of numbers to have everything go legal. But I think that what I've learned from her is the importance of having that, aligned and in place, as soon as when we start in our business. So we have a lot of questions. I know a lot of people have been sending me questions to ask. Some people are going to join us and they want to ask themselves. So I'm going to let her introduce herself because I know she is a lawyer. And like I said, I've been following her for the past year. And, me, how I am, that I have like this trust issue so much, I don't know why. But I've been following her, and I love her work. And not only that, I know a lot of people that worked with her, and they were just super, super happy. So I'm so excited that she's here with us. So, do you have anything to say before we bring her in?
I just, I want to welcome everyone here. If you guys could go ahead and tweet this out, because it's such an important topic for coaches. It's something we tend to not look at and they're like, I'll deal with that later. This is super timely for me. Some bad shit happened to me last week. So, I'm really excited. This is super timely for me. I agree with what Monica said. Don't wait until you're already, don't wait until you're successful to get the legal support that you need and get answers. So it's such a treat to have Gena, and I would love for you guys to tweet this out, those of you that are live, so that we can share this message with more people. And let's bring her on, because I know we have lots of questions. I posted in my group as well if anyone had questions. So I'm actually going to go look inside my group and see what questions people had for Gena. But let's bring her on.
I have a list of questions as well that people were asking. And this is the great thing about her, and now I promise I'll bring her in, that, having a lawyer or contacting a lawyer, the first thing we think, it's like we're not going to afford it. Like how I can't afford that. And because I haven't started getting in clients or whatever. And this is what I love about her, that she has some courses and packages and things that are very, very, very reasonable. And it's helped so many people. So I'm going to have you, Gena, when you get a chance, there's a call button. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, good. God, she's so pretty. She's just, okay, here we go.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Thanks. Hi.
Are you there? Can you hear us, Jessica?
Can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey. Thanks.
Hi, nice to meet you.
You too. Thanks for having me. So I'm like trying to position. I'm at my parents' house because we were here for Mother's Day, and so I don't have like my whole setup.
Well, thanks for being. And this is such a break room. Like this is such a relaxed place, so it's not like
You guys all look so pretty with your backdrops.
Covering a spot here that wasn't working very well.
I like it.
So Jessica, you had a few questions, right? Like you wanted to. Well, first, could you introduce yourself and let us know, what do you call yourself? What do other people call yours? All this stuff.
Yeah, so I'm Gena Shingle Jaffe. My full name's Genevieve, so that's where the Gena comes from. But I get Gena a lot. So I do those posts occasionally. I'm like, this is how you pronounce my name. So I call myself a sparkly lawyer, and that's because I love sparkles and glitter and unicorns and all stuff like that. And I try to make the law sparkly and less scary and more approachable and affordable. And so that's really kind of how I coined that kind of title and phrase. So I joined, thank you so much. This person said, nice website. Thanks. There's pink everywhere and gold. So I started my business in January of 2014. I was a corporate lawyer before that in New York City, and I was miserable. And my wife has been an entrepreneur her whole career. And so when we met, she was like, have you ever thought of having your own business? And I was like, no, like it just wasn't in my sphere of anything I knew. My family's working class, and so I just didn't know anything about it. But after a few months, I was like, your life is pretty cool. Like she was like, I get up really early for work, and I'd be working all day. And she was like, oh, I went to yoga this afternoon, and I took a nap. And I mean, obviously she was working, but had been, helping such incredible people. And I was meeting some of her clients and some of her friends, and the things that they were doing in the world was so amazing. And they kept saying to me, like, we need you. We need someone to do, contracts and stuff that we can afford. And so I made the leap, and it's been amazing.
And is your wife a coach? Is she a life coach, or what type of coach is she?
She used to be she was a professional organizer turned life coach turned business coach. And now she basically teaches women how to get clients on Facebook.
Okay.
Her niche.
Cool.
Yeah. Another lawyer. Cool. Hey.
So
Awesome.
So you were saying that, the whole sparkle thing, because I didn't know where was that coming from, but like in reality, it's kind of coming from a more feminine way, right? Like a more
it's just neat. And when you start your business, and when you're your own boss, when you're an entrepreneur, it's really all about you. Especially in this coaching world, it's kind of like, who are you? And authentically branding yourself, because you are your business. Your business is you. They're the same thing. And for me, it's just I just kind of infused myself into my brand, and it has nothing to do with law, but it has everything to do with who I am.
So pretty much.
I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited about it. And I know you have different courses and all that, but would you be okay if we answer a few questions that, some of the people that are following, maybe you could give some advice and, see how they can work with you and all that stuff, and stuff that you could clear up. Jess, do you have any questions? Do you want to start?
Yeah, so both Monica and I work with coaches, and it looks like we have a question coming up. Actually, one of my clients. So yeah, well, I would love for you to answer her question, but I think first, what I would love to know is, what do you think are the biggest legal mistakes that coaches make when they're starting out? Like, what are the things that they overlook that are really like bad that they should, make sure that they get into place?
Yeah. Well,
and then let's take your question and any other questions that are coming up.
Awesome. Well, as Monica alluded to earlier, people just ignore the legal part in the beginning at all. They're like, oh, nothing's going to happen to me. I'm too new. I need some clients first before I invest in a lawyer. And that's true for like some pieces. You don't need to get everything in place, but there are a few key things that you really need when you start your business. And the first is, if you're a coach or a service-based business, is a client contract. Like, you cannot work with anyone without having a contract. Like, that is like first and foremost. It's going to protect you. It's going to protect your client. It's going to protect your brand. It's going to protect your income, and it's going to protect like your intellectual property, meaning your company materials, your trademarks, your copyright. Like, there's so much protection that comes in a client contract that people just don't realize. And they think that it's like, well, I feel kind of icky giving my client a contract. I want them to think they trust me. But you're actually saying to your client when you give them a contract, like, I value you enough that I'm going to promise to deliver everything on my end, as well as like you're going to promise to make sure that you pay me for the services. So it's really this mutual exchange, and it really creates this like beautiful sacred kind of space where you can deal with all like the business stuff up front and then have this intimate relationship moving forward. Because as a coach, you know, clients are sharing some intimate details. People are scared about, you know, like starting their business, growing their business, and maybe you're a life coach and they're sharing some really like personal things to them. And, you know, making sure that that's going to remain confidential brings peace of mind to the client as well. So the client contract, hands down, number one is like the biggest thing. And then if you have a website, there are actually 3 documents that go on your website. So people overlook this as well. They think, oh, I'm just going to get a website up and running and I'm good to go. But the 3 website documents are a website disclaimer, terms and conditions, and privacy policy. And they all kind of cover different areas of liability. So the website disclaimer protects basically your liability in regards to what is on your website. Do you have a blog where you're kind of sharing tips and information? You want to make sure that people aren't kind of taking those things and like running and applying them to their life and their business. Because especially if you have like a health blog or like kind of a lifestyle blog, but maybe like this recipe isn't good for you. Maybe this exercise regime isn't going to be good for this person because I don't know you. Like, I don't know your situation. I don't know your health issues. Like, it's not personalized. So you just want to make sure that they understand that this is just information, but to talk to their healthcare provider before kind of implementing any of these things. So just like that, something like that's really important. The terms and conditions protect all the content on your website. So if you have the blog, if you have resources, if you have an opt-in and a freebie and all of that, and make sure that they say that all of this belongs to me. All of this stuff on the website is mine. You can't take it and put it on your website or give it to your clients. Like, this belongs to me. The last thing is the privacy policy. And this is actually legally required in several states in the US. Not every state, but because a lot of us operate virtual businesses, we're touching every state in the US. So it's important to have this privacy policy, which protects the information that people give to you when they visit your website. So a name and an email for an opt-in. Credit card information for buying a program. That's actually something that's really important to say. I'm not going to sell your information, and I promise I'm not going to spam you. So those are like the 4, I call them the 4 legal musts. So those 4 documents are like really when you're starting your business or like really finally getting your legal ducks in a row, or like really the core kind of 4 documents to get in place. So that was a lot.
Yeah, no, but it's awesome because I think that when we start, we don't even know where to begin with. But just a quick question, and because there's so many coaches, and there, you know, so many American coaches that are all around the world, and it's been such a huge question, and I think it is for me too. You know, I'm in Spain, and there's so many people in Europe and whatever, and because, you know, they've talked to certain people, they're like, yeah, I don't know the laws there and whatever. They tend to not put anything. And I think having something, even if it's not in whatever the law is in each country, they could still use some of the contracts and stuff that you have, right? So
it's always best to have a local lawyer kind of, if you're in another country, right? So I'm in the US, I'm licensed in the state of New York, right? So I work mostly with only US-based clients. In my legal course, I do have some international clients, international students, with the understanding that anything I give them needs to be reviewed by a local attorney, and I'm not their lawyer. Like, I'm just giving them these documents so that they have, like you said, have something in place, because it's better than nothing. But in different countries, there might be like little different caveats, little different loopholes. Canada and Australia are very similar. UK is pretty similar, but I don't know, you know, we're not, and any lawyer that's in the US, we can't say like, oh, I know exactly what you need if you're in Spain. Like, I don't. I just, you know, like, I'm not licensed there. I can give you information and things that you should know and things that you should look out for. Like, these 4 legal musts, really important. They're still going to apply to you. There just might be little different provisions in those contracts that I'm giving out. But yeah, again, something is better than nothing. Absolutely. Because you want something writing.
That was like my whole point. It's like, even if you don't know, because I don't know exactly how you work, because I know some people bought a package that you had like of certain contracts and certain things that were already written, and I'm like, well, I think that you should shoot for that one. I mean, you should talk to her. I'm so glad you're here. But at least to start with something, and use that something, and then they're, you know, of course, you suggest that we all go to our own lawyer, our local lawyer. But I think that it was great that you said like something. It's better than nothing, because we work with other American people.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's all about what's in writing. So, like, what did you agree to in writing before the relationship started? So having that writing to fall back on if something does go wrong, to say, well, this is what we agreed to, so these are the things that we need to kind of like look out for. Absolutely is better than having nothing at all. Because if you, like, say you take on a client without a contract and something goes wrong, we can't really prove what you agreed to. It's just kind of like he said, she said, you know? So having something in writing, even something simple, is absolutely better than nothing.
Okay, awesome. And
yeah, absolutely. What kind of things would be in the contract?
I'm sorry.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry, it's just Heather was saying if we can.
Yeah, I can
record documents, but it is being recorded, and we're going to post it on our Facebook group, the Break Room for Coaches, and also Jessica and me will have it in our own recording thing. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read here.
Do you want me to start answering?
So Heather had a question about, Heather, can you post your question again? It was about LLC or something else.
S Corp, yeah.
And then after that, I wanted to know what needs to be in a client contract.
Okay, yeah.
And I'll see if Heather can post.
But first, explain what is an LLC and all that stuff. Explain what that is.
So, yep. And
well, let's wait for her to repost.
I know her question. I remember it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, you saw it?
It was for a coach, should I be an LLC or an S Corp? I get this a lot. So, an LLC is a limited liability company. It is a state designated entity. So it's something where you actually file in your specific state. And without going into too much detail, it's basically like a pass-through entity, meaning you're still filing your own personal tax return, like you don't have any extra corporate documents. What the LLC does is it provides kind of like a metaphorical barrier between your personal assets and your business assets. So if someone were to sue you in your business capacity, if you had the LLC and you were operating it properly, they can't touch anything you own personally. So a home or a car or anything like that. So, you know, I mean, there isn't really kind of like a straight, like, this is when you should form an LLC. Like, it's not. It's gray. It depends on your business. It depends on what you own personally. But, you know, we kind of talk about, like, if you make about $50,000 in your businit's, you might want to start to consider an LLC, because you are then going to start to have more personal assets. The S Corp. So an S Corp is called it's a form of a corporation, but it's a subchapter. That's what the S is for. And also the LLC has no tax benefits, zero, none. The S corporation is where you get more of your tax benefits, but it's very highly regulated because it's more of a corporation. So there's more paperwork, there's more documents, you have to file quarterly taxes, you have to make sure that you have, like, it's a little bit more expensive. There's more money involved, but if you're making more money, then you might want to consider the S Corp because you are getting those tax benefits. Another option, though, is an LLC filing taxes as an S corporation. And this is where you don't have as much it's like you don't have as much regulation. You're getting the tax benefit, but you're still an LLC. You still have to pay quarterly taxes, though. So if you're at this level, you need an accountant. Like, absolutely, you just need an accountant because there's going to be more filing, more deadlines, more paperwork. But the S corporation is where you do get that tax benefit. So if you're making more than six figures, then that's a good route to consider, either the LLC taxing as an S corp or a full-on S corporation. But again, when you're an actual corporation, a lot more paperwork, a lot more rules and regulations, a lot more requirements on you. So it's something to consider talking about with your accountant. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I started as an LLC, and then now we're moving into the third option that you mentioned. So I think it's so confusing for people, you know?
It's not, and it's not cut and dry. It's very gray because it depends on your own specific situation. Maybe you just started your business, but you own 3 houses and you don't, obviously want them up for liability. Mm-hmm. So you're like, okay, I've made $0, but I want to get that LLC in place. Also, every state has different requirements. Every state is different. It costs sometimes it costs, a couple hundred up front, but then every year in California, for example, you're paying an $800 minimum annual franchise tax. So you have this tax every single year.
Wow.
Some states you don't. So when you're getting to that point, it's definitely important to either work with an attorney to help you form your business and definitely have an accountant on board. Yeah.
Okay, Heather has another question.
Do you recommend doing it in Delaware? So no, and this is why. So if you're an LLC, you must, you must be registered in the state in which you are doing business. So you can form an LLC in Delaware, but you also have to register in your specific state because you have to be paying the taxes in your specific state. So the reason that people will do corporations in Delaware. So when you're considering being a corporation, that's when you would then consider possibly doing Delaware, but not an LLC because then you're just wasting your money.
Okay, and you had a question on contracts. Is that what you?
Oh, you wanted to do that? Yeah. So when in a client contract, so my client contracts are very thorough. They're long, but they're like not super legal languagey. I try to make it as reader friendly as possible. So a client contract has a lot of provisions in it. Now, you're going to describe your program. What is your program? What is your offering, right? You want to include everything in there. How many calls? How many, do you have email access? All of that. How long is the program? Because you want to make sure you have the term. How long does this contract last? How much does it cost? Do you do payment plans? And how do you accept money? Are you using PayPal? Are you using Stripe? Is it check, cash? Everything like that you want to include. What's your refund policy, if any? That's up to you. It's up to you. And that's something that you can kind of think about. A disclaimer section is really important here as well, because you want to tell people who you are and who you're not. So for a business coach example would be I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a financial advisor. While I might give you information saying hey, you should probably get a client contract, that doesn't mean I'm giving you legal advice. So it's important to include there as well. Another section I include is called no guarantee, because I'm going to put on my website the clients who've had the most success, right? And so they might say oh, they've made 6 figures in 6 months, but that doesn't mean that you will too. So there's no guarantee that previous results will promise future results for other clients. So it's good to know that and have that in there just so people are aware that look, you have to do the work. It's on you to take all the things that I give you and the steps and the blueprints and implement them into your own business as well. There's governing law. What law governs the contract? It's usually where you live, your specific state. A dispute resolution section. So if there are any issues, how are we going to handle it? I personally start off with saying let's try to resolve this amicably between us, just between the two parties. Let's try to figure it out. We're not going to rush to court. Let's just figure it out. If that doesn't work, then maybe we'll try mediation. If that doesn't work, we're going to go to arbitration. And I choose arbitration over litigation because unless you have a contract that's worth probably $100,000, you're not going to court. You're going to spend years arguing this. You're going to spend a ton of money. So we're going to go to arbitration, which is a lot cheaper and it's more streamlined. It's quicker. You're also not going to get there probably either. You're going to settle it, but it's good to just have those in there because you have to tell people kind of what your process is. And then there's a lot of just legal stuff that goes in there too. So this is why you shouldn't try to draft your own contract. So, there's some provisions which you can. Clearly, you can describe your program, you can describe the payment, but there's so many legal sections as well that I really, really discourage people from drafting them on their own.
So you have that? I'm sorry, go ahead, Jessica.
Well, I was just going to say, I feel like after listening to this, we're all okay, tell us, how can we learn this? So are you recommending that everyone has a lawyer draft the contract or sort of make their own first draft, then take it to a lawyer?
Absolutely not. Don't.
You know what I mean? Because if you ask a lawyer to draft it completely from scratch, sometimes that's going to be more costly than if you have sort of a template with certain things in it and then is that true? I mean, that's my understanding, but maybe it's not true.
Not necessarily. So let's just say if you try to draft it on your own, and then bring it to me, I'm going to scrap it. I'm going to keep it because it's probably just
Okay.
You know, but so I personally, I heard an echo. Do you hear me?
Yeah, me too. Jess, do you have your? Can you talk? I don't know. I hear an echo when.
Yeah.
I think.
Am I echoing?
I think it's you. It's your.
I'm echoing. I don't hear an echo.
I heard one when I was talking.
Oh, it's gone.
Oh, yay. Okay. Okay, cool.
I don't hear.
So I sell in my business. So I like to have different kind of tiers where wherever you are in your business can kind of work with me. So I sell templates where basically all the legal infrastructure is already there. All you have to do is really customize it for your specific business. My contracts are crafted for coaches. So I know that like people are like, well, how can I get a template? Isn't it going to just be like pretty generic? It's crafted for coaches. It's crafted for the coaching world. So you can get a template that would be perfectly sufficient on my website. I also do custom contracts. It's more expensive because I am drafting it from scratch. And we have a phone call, we chat about it, like, you know, you get like the whole kind of all the works. But yeah, you can, but like a lot of times people will come to me and they'll be like, oh, I downloaded this template off the internet. I just kind of Googled it and I'm like, I'm starting over. Like it's not worth it for me. Like it's going to cost you the same amount unless like that it would be to get mine. And I know that mine is going to protect you.
So do you have?
So what is your website where we can purchase those? Because I want to type that in for people to go. Because I know there's some people that are like, okay, I want to go purchase those templates.
Yeah. Genevieve Shingle.
Oh, perfect. And where do we click to get there?
Legal contracts.
And that's something we can purchase and then fill it in?
Yep. It comes with written instructions that basically is like, insert your city and state here. Describe your program. You know, like it's pretty.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great.
Yeah. Now,
thank you for creating something like that. That's amazing.
You're welcome. The
real quick question, because just before I forget. So you do have different, because I know you have a Facebook group also where you kind of answer certain questions on your site, but also on your packages. I know you have different packages where they can just.
Uh-oh. We lost her.
So there are other questions that I'll just quickly go through.
Yeah, you can answer those while she's getting back on.
So Heather had just said something about how she knew a lawyer who made all of his clients go to Delaware. No, you should absolutely not do that because you're going to have to register your LLC in Delaware and then register wherever you are as well. So it doesn't make any sense to do that. Okay, Mitch said, thoughts about the importance for a coach or anyone else doing business on digital to make it clear that web and social visitors are connecting with the speaker's business as opposed to the speaker as an individual. I'm not sure I understand that question, like as in terms of speaker. Monica, we're just going through the questions here. So Mitch had asked about, yeah, I'm not sure what you mean about the speaker's business. If somebody's coming to my website and they're reading my stuff, then they're talking about my stuff. So can you just...
So while they do that, let me get back into the question before I forget.
Yeah.
I know you have different types of packages, right? Now, like you have the templates, and then you have another one that you joined with someone. Is that a new course that you're having? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I joined forces with another lawyer. Her name's Lisa Fraley. She's also an online attorney. And we basically both had our own online legal courses and we meshed them together, kind of like took the best of both. And so we have an online legal course. There's 2 tiers. We have a DIY tier. So the course is called Damsel Goes Bare. The DIY tier is called Damsel Goes Bare Lite, where you get those 4 documents that I talked about, the 4 legal musts: the client contract, website disclaimer, web terms and conditions, web privacy policy, and you get video lessons that walk you through how to customize them and tell you really why they're so important. So we have that package.
They're templates, and then in the course, you walk everybody on how to kind of fill in the templates?
Yep. So because this version, this tier, the light version has no access to both of us. It's complete DIY self-paced study. The full version of Damsel Goes Bear includes those 4 documents plus one more. It's called a terms of use, which is what you use if you're selling an online program, like a group coaching program. And it's a 6-week structured course where you get 6 live Q&A calls with both Lisa and I. So you can hop on and ask us questions. We have a private Facebook group where you can ask us questions in the Facebook group. And then we have other module lessons on trademarks, copyrights, entity formation, and hiring a team. So that course is like the full-blown course you're getting, like the whole kit and caboodle, basically everything you really need to know within an online business, plus the access to the 2 of us. So it's like you have a lawyer on call, basically.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Did you have another question? Because I have a question here from somebody in the group. Jess?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this question was from Audra. And so to make the question short, she hired somebody to do her website, and there was a contract. But then this lady stopped with that company and she moved to another company and something like that. So anyway, so she didn't do her website. She paid $4,500 for her website, and now she's kind of like out there and she's thinking, if I get a lawyer, it's going to be much more expensive, or how can? And she's American, but she's international. But the contract was done in the States. What happens really? And I don't know if you could just answer in general. Like, what happens really when you hire other people and they just don't deliver? I mean, is that something that is worse to get a lawyer and it's like more expensive, or like, what do you recommend? What is it that?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily. Sometimes people will hire me to just draft an email to the person being like, hey, you owe me money kind of a thing, where it's not, it's not expensive. If you're talking like a couple $100, it's not worth it. But $4,500 is a lot of money. You're not going to pay a lawyer $4,500 to fight this. You might pay a lawyer $1,000, but if you get $4,500 back, then it's worth it. Mm-hmm. So whoever the contract, so she had a contract, she said, whoever the contract is with is who she needs to go after. If it's with a previous company, then she can go after that company, not necessarily that individual.
Well, it was her company, the individual's company. She just created another company.
Oh, well, then she absolutely needs to go after that woman.
Yeah, that woman sent a letter from a lawyer saying that she doesn't have to kind of respond to that because she doesn't have that company anymore or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'll ask her. But in general, because we constantly hire VAs. We constantly hire, and we're always, and we're always trying to find like the best ones. And there's always that one, like I hired one that was awesome and I loved her, but she never got back to me ever until I sent her a message saying like, you need to, like.
Right. I mean, sometimes like just the mere threat of legal action kind of gets people kind of, like moving a little faster. That person's lawyer is lying unless she filed bankruptcy with that other company. If you file bankruptcy, then that's a different story in terms of paying the other person back. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't have to pay. If she didn't file bankruptcy, she still has to give you that money back.
Okay. So that was her question. And my question, I have a really interesting question when it comes to copy. And this is why I think it is really interesting. Because, I mean, sometimes, like people have a copy and you can tell how they almost like copy paste, like, and they put it on their website, right? Like, I mean, those are like, I don't understand that. But, and we're talking more about that. We talk about like, spiritually growing and being in integrity and being able to hold what you say, because we can take something away from, like copy something from someone. And when we're handling the client, it's going to be really hard for you to hold them in that space, right? That you didn't write it, that it didn't come out from you. But I think that sometimes it's almost like when, like the abuser, that you're kind of asking yourself, like, is he really that bad? And you're just kind of waiting for them to hate you. I'm not saying it happened to me, but I'm just saying it's almost like taking it from an abuser, because you're kind of telling yourself, no, it can't be her. Maybe they're doing this. And there's like a little fine line between like a collective consciousness about, like you're thinking something, right? And you didn't write it. And then you hear it, somebody else says it, and you're like, oh my God, that was in my head. I can't believe I did it. I know about that. I know about, because, I take a long time, and Jessica's gonna, she knows that's true. She hates that. It's like, why didn't you do it? That, I think about talking about something, and it just, somebody else does it. So I really get how people can get confused about maybe thinking that somebody else took, information from you. I know, and more because a lot of us, we kind of speak the same language, right? We are there, and we talk about the feminine, and we talk about integrity, we talk about love, and we talk about taking care of ourselves. When we feel that something like that happens, and there's a lot, it hasn't happened to me, but it happens to a lot of people I know. And I think it happened to your wife, actually. But it happens to a lot of people, that people come and they copy just like really big chunks, and then they put it on their website. How can we go? I think I'm asking as a lawyer, and as a business entrepreneur, as a woman in integrity, and about like being open that can happen. That sometimes we are all in a collective consciousness, and we're all speaking the same language, and we're all, connected to that source, that if somebody doesn't do it, somebody else is going to do it, right?
Yeah, well, so do you read the Big Magic by Elizabeth?
Yes.
If you don't take action, the inspiration jumps to someone else, right? So like similar ideas are bouncing around. In terms of copying, it happens a ton in our industry, but it also happens in an innocent way. As you said, we all use a lot of similar languaging. Look, nothing is really new anymore. Like, we're just kind of expanding upon things that we've learned. Our coach expanded upon things that they learned from their coach. We learned from their coach, learned from their coach, right? Like, as long as you're making something your own, it most likely isn't copying, because again, we're not inventing really new things anymore. We're making things our own that we learn from our coaches. Now, if somebody takes a chunk of your website and puts it on theirs, that's different. That's complete copyright infringement. And if they do that, you can absolutely go after them and make them take it down.
How do you do that? Do you call a lawyer? Do you, what are the steps? Because it happens a lot, Gemma. It happens a lot.
So I always tell people, people contact me about this all the time, and I usually say, have you asked them yourself to take it down? That's the first step. Trying to assume innocence, because you'll get a lot further that way. Unless they literally I've heard of somebody who copied someone's bio, literal bio. That's just so stupid. But
how can you copy someone's bio?
Right. This is not your story. If somebody took a blog post or something like that, email them, just hey, this section is the same exact thing on my website. I'm sure you didn't have any ill intent behind it, but this belongs to me. Can you please take it down? And see what happens. If they don't answer, then yeah, get a lawyer involved to send a cease and desist. If it's something that really is near and dear to your heart, that really, really upsets you and bothers you, that they took and put on their site, then it might be worth investing a few $100s to get them to take it down. But if you want to, first just email them, contact them yourself. And
copyright thing. Do they need to have a whole copyright thing before that happens, or?
So there's two ways to go about it. So if you have, let's say you have a blog and you've copyrighted, you've actually officially registered the copyright, you can go after somebody for copyright infringement. You own that copyright, it's registered with the Copyright Congress, you own that. If there's something on your website that people take and put on their, if you have terms and conditions on your website The terms and conditions will say something along the lines of, anything that's on this website belongs to me. You cannot take it and use it for your own business. If they do that, they've breached your contract. So you can go after them for breaching the contract. So there's like, you kind of have two different areas where you could be protected in that regard. So that's why it's important to have your website documents on your website, because it gives you legal recourse to go after somebody who steals something from your website.
Yeah.
So does your program, it covers those 4 top documents, the contract, and then the other 3 things?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Both tiers. The full course just has an additional document plus a lot more access. Yeah.
Awesome.
So Jonathan said he doesn't really bother because Google doesn't like duplicated content. Yeah, but it's still stealing your stuff. So if you don't mind, then that's totally on you. But a lot of us in this industry, we kind of do mind because it's our soul's work, you know?
And we talk about this a lot. I mean, we talk about so much about, you know, we talk about the 6 figures business, and and everything comes back to the same place about us really owning our gift or finding our gift or wherever everybody is in their business. You know, like when you start a business, I know it's hard for people, and I've talked to a lot of people that just started their business and they're like life coaches, and they're just very broad and general, and it's really easy to read somebody's website and say, oh my God, I do that exactly, and they said it, you know, perfectly, and it's really easy to do that. But what we talk here about a lot is, you know, finding, you know, there's something extra, you know, there's this extra spice we have, right? You know, like you have that sparkly stuff that you like now, you know, and I know a lot of people out there, they're all into unicorns and stuff, and some people hate that, some people love that, whatever, right? But I think that even we can see the other people, how they say it, you know, and really go back with that and just kind of, you know, process it with yourself, like, what is my extra spice here, right? You know, like, and I work with that, you know, through the shadow, right? You know, I help people really find their true gift through the shadow, and people could do it through other things like books or courses or whatever it is. But when they go into business, they focus only on how am I going to sell more, or how am I going to do the 6 figures, or how am I going to, you know, write it, and how am I going to do the copy, and how am I going to do this? And they forget the part that got them there in the first place, which is that feeling of, oh, this is awesome, and I should share it, right, with such passion, and kind of finding its own ways. One of the things that I love about the group, you guys' group, Jordana and your group, which is called Jordana and Gena, what's it called?
Gena and Jordana, your magical business.
Yeah, and your magical business. One of the things that I love about Jordana, and I talk about it here we've talked about you guys here, about how she found her own, you know, she's very introvert, and, you know, she likes to be cozy in her, you know, room and her living room. So everything she does is around that. She teaches that, right? It's like, well, how can you be cozy in your living room instead of paying attention on stuff of, you know, get out of your comfort zone, get out of your, she's like, no, I want to be in my comfort zone. And right now in this communities, you know, it's always like, or this is the best and this is not good. And I think that it's all good depending who you are and where you're at. And somebody like Jessica, you tell her, like, just stay in your comfort zone, whatever. She won't choke herself. Like, she loves out there and doing all this stuff. But everybody has their own thing. And I think that, you know, talking to you about legal and all this stuff, I know it tends to get scary. But what I love about what your guys' message together, you know, being in law or being in, you know, creating a business or attracting more clients, it's all about who you are, you know, and I think that you do that very well and try to make us feel, and more the people that, when we think legal or taxes or all the stuff, it's like, oh, she's going to explain to me and I'm so not going to get it. And that's not true with you. And I mean, I can't talk more about you, but I do think that we're all, the three of us here, our intention with the show and all the shows is that there is access to very simple things that seem very, very difficult.
Right.
From writing your own copy or knowing how, to bring it all together, or having the legal part, or selling 6 figures. Right, Jess? Like, that's been our conversation. And we're really happy that you're here and you really took the time to be here with us, because this is so important. And the fact that we have access to you, and we can go on your website, and you do have an opt-in that we're going to give to everybody that watches the show, and they could sign up in our Breakthrough for Coaches Facebook group, and we're going to have opt-in there. Go ahead.
Grab the link one more time. So tell everyone what you are giving, Gena, and then they can go into the break room. Is it already posted in there?
No, I was going to, but I wanted her to talk about it before we put it in there.
Yeah, so there's 2. Basically, you get so I call it a Smartly legal checklist. So you kind of go through and it lists out the different kind of documents and the things that you might need, and you can check it off whenever you get them. And the other document is called What the Hell Do I Need? It's a legal guide for entrepreneurs. And I mean, we talked a little bit today about some of these documents, but really written out, it's going to talk about like client contracts and the website documents to really kind of help you understand. Maybe you're kind of more of a visual learner to kind of go through. And then, I deliver them out. So when you do get a free gift, you will be signed up for my newsletter. You can opt out at any time, but I do deliver more gifts over the course of a few days. So you'll get an audio hearing me talk. You'll get another document which goes through even more contracts. So it's like another PDF that goes through even more contracts. So I like to give lots of free gifts because I know that law is so scary, and people really, again, have absolutely no idea what the hell that they need.
We don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great.
Yeah, so we go to the Break Room Coaches on Facebook and join the group. You'll get all the gifts that Gena's giving for us. So we do have a few minutes. Does anyone have another question, or Jessica, do you have any other questions that you want to?
No, I'm excited to give your info to all my clients and have them go purchase your templates, because that's obviously, it's not my area of expertise, and I want them to have the best information. They've all been asking me. So I'm like, thank God I've known of you for a while, but I hadn't really gone to your website. I know you from your group and how awesome your group is. And I'm excited to just, I want to review all my stuff too, so it's very, very timely for me and for all my clients as well. The only question I did have though is, what do you think about services like Legal Shield? I know that I used one of those services where I paid a monthly fee, and when I had a house that I sold, and I didn't have a real estate agent. I sold it myself. So they reviewed my contract. I bought a franchise and I had them review that contract. So I got some good value, but I just wonder what's your take on that? I mean, if someone who feels like, oh my gosh, I can't afford a lawyer, should they look into one of those options? I mean, I'm sure there's pros and cons.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So the downside to some of these services, so LegalZoom is like a huge one. Not everyone that works there is a lawyer. Mm-hmm. It's really weird. Okay. So, and in terms of our online world, so the online coaching world is so different than the regular business world of brick-and-mortar businesses that a lot of attorneys don't understand it. Like, they just don't get this whole kind of online sphere and what we're doing. So if you have an online business, a coaching business, like, I would recommend going to a lawyer who understands the online world, because the things that you need are different. But if you have a regular standard brick and mortar business, money's tight, then they might be a good fit for you.
What about, I trademarked Permission to Charge, which is my brand. And a lot of my clients are always asking me, should I trademark it? And I'm like, well, I did because I want that to be my phrase and it's my brand. I personally don't think it's necessary. Like, I don't think everyone needs to do it, but a lot of people just put the trademark sign when they plan on trademarking it or registering it or whatever. And I actually used, it wasn't LegalZoom, but it was like some other service. It worked for me, but I've heard people say, oh, don't use those. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, let's see. I was going to show it to you guys. I don't even know where it is right now. I have it all printed and everything. When I got it in the mail, I'm like, oh my. But, a lot of people ask me like, oh, should I do that? Because they see that I did that. But I would love for you to talk about that because everyone always asks about that.
So I do trademark services for people. And really it kind of to, is this name or phrase something that is so crucial to your brand that you would be devastated if you couldn't use it anymore? If that's the case.
See, I can say yes. I can say yes to that for mine.
So then you make,
yeah. But not everyone would say yes to that.
So yeah, people will come to me and they're like, I want to trademark 5 different things. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be really expensive. If you want to do it, great, we'll do it. But if it's something that you think you're going to change in a year, it's not worth it because the process to trademark a name can take up to a year. Like, it's a long process.
Yeah, it should be a year.
Right, because the government is slow. Right, so because you're dealing with the U.S. government and there's back and forth. And the reason that I encourage people to work with a lawyer when it comes to trademarking a name is that there's so much that goes into researching the mark that you want because, so like, let's say permission to charge, right? So, okay, permission to charge is yours. You're a coach. If there's, maybe somebody else has like permission to sell. That's similar.
Somebody does have that. Somebody does have that.
And
I was going to get that because I teach sales also, but somebody had the idea. Well, someone acted on the idea before I acted on the idea.
Do they have
and that's his whole brand.
Well, do they have the registered trademark?
I don't know, but since it's his brand, I'm not pursuing it anymore. I don't care anymore. But it was natural when I came up with permission to charge. It was very natural for me to come up with permission to sell. Like, it wasn't that much of a leap. I just never acted on it.
Right. I'm looking this up really quickly. I'm really curious. So no, he does not.
And the same thing for Soulful Sales. I created a Soulful Sales program 4 years ago. And when I researched it 4 years ago, nobody was using that phrase. Nobody was using that phrase. Many, many people have now branded themselves as the Soulful Sales coach or Soulful Sales whatever. So everyone's talking about it now. I don't know if I was the first person. I just know that when I researched it, I didn't find anything. Right. That doesn't mean I was the first person.
Well, the thing with
but, I didn't act on it.
So the thing with trademarks is that you can't use a name that is the same or similar to another person that is in your specific industry. And it's called classes in trademarks. So if that person is in the same exact class that you are, and he tries to register permission to sell, it will probably be denied because it's similar and it can cause brand confusion. The trademarks prevent brand confusion. So they prevent the same or similar sounding marks from moving forward. So there is a ton of protection that comes with a trademark. So like, that's why it is important if you have a brand, if you have a name that is like so crucial to who you are, and you want to make sure that you can use it and that nobody else can use that or something similar, it's kind of time to consider a trademark.
Great.
Well,
that's really good advice.
We're running out of time. We have a few minutes. Do you have any questions, Jess or Gena? Do you have something that we might?
I'm so grateful, and I'm so grateful that you were here. This was so much fun, and Gosh, there's just, I mean, we constantly get questions. So now we can send them to your website. And I love that I have that resource now.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to check your stuff as well. And we have to kind of all go back and do our legal stuff. And this is, this is recorded. So we're going to go ahead and post it. It's going to be in our YouTube channel. And it's going to be all over the place for the people that couldn't make it here on to being live. But I can't be more grateful that you said yes. And I think did you work with Nisha too? Did you go, was it you or
Anna worked privately with Nisha Mutli. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because
a few years ago.
Okay. Because I thought you did too. Because I'm on her mastermind too, and I'm like, oh God, I think she's one of the sisters, right?
No, I work with Lisa Fabrega, who was also a client of Nisha's.
Who?
Lisa Fabrega.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, love her.
Yeah, you guys did that. Okay, so well, thank you so much. I hope you get how grateful we are that you're here, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
And we're here every second Monday and fourth Monday of the month, and we have different topics, and you're more than welcome to come anytime and visit us. And so our next lab is, do you have your calendar, Jess?
Yes, it is on the 23rd.
On the 23rd. So you can go to our Facebook group and you could send some suggestions of what you guys want us to talk about and invite new people. And if you have any other questions, you could go ahead and post it there. Also, remember that you can find Gena's gifts that she's letting us all have in that break room for coaches, and we're gonna post it in the next couple of hours. In that link you sent us, Gena, are both there, or they're two different links?
Nope, same one.
In that one. All right. Well, thank
you. Gena, can you tell us the name of your group? I'm just posting because we all have our own groups, and then Monica and I have a joint group. So how do people find your group? Because I know you guys have almost 10,000 members.
Yeah. So it's the bit.ly link is You Are Magical. So it's Gena and Jordana.
Oh, perfect.
Business.
Okay, and do you have another one by yourself? Okay.
Nope. Our group, I know that there are some men on here. Our group is for women only. So we have almost 10,000 women entrepreneurs in it. And we have fun.
That's awesome.
Okay.
So the break room for coaches is for men and women coaches. Gena's group, Gena and Jordana's group is women. Permission to Charge community is women. But join the break room because it's for everyone. As long as you're a coach, we would love you to be there.
All right. Well, thank you for spending some time with us and taking a break, because we all need a break. And we all need to talk in a break room. So we'll see you next, when is it? May what?
We'll see you guys on May 23rd.
May 23rd. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Gena. Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks, Gena.
Bye.
Bye, Monica. Bye, everyone.